Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to play Cloak and Dagger in Marvel Rivals. Now this is my main. They're very strong because they're not only a good healer, but also pretty good at damage dealing as well. So whenever you're in Dagger form, you're going to want to mostly focus on healing, which I'll show you the best ways to go about doing that. And then you can switch to Cloak here and deal damage. And he's actually got a really good range, and both of them have auto aim. So it's a very good character if you're just learning how to play the game. And I'll show you here the best strategy. So healing is really Dagger's main thing. So if you're playing a support, you should pretty much always be healing. Unfortunately, I couldn't save those two there, but you have three main heals. So you got your daggers, which will heal a bit over time, and they're pretty effective. However, we also have on our alternative fire this bubble, which will heal, and it does a really good amount of healing too. And then on E, we can also create a wall of healing, which will give heals over time as well. So this is another really good way to be able to heal up our teammates. So you want to alternate between those. Mostly you're going to be throwing daggers. Another cool thing about the daggers is you can actually bounce them off of walls. So you can see here, I'm just throwing them at the roof here, and they will bounce and heal your teammates. So that is really nice. However, you got to be mindful if you're aiming near enemies, it'll actually auto aim to the nearest thing. So whether it be in an enemy or a teammate, you're going to be doing one or the other, either healing or damaging. However, you want to be focusing on healing with using daggers because the damage that they output is not that great. You're going to see here, it takes like 17 to take out a normal enemy, 17 to 18. So that's obviously not ideal because, you know, you could be switching to Cloak and dealing a whole lot more damage. Now, whenever I play Cloak and Dagger, I actually think it's best to stay in your Dagger form for probably 80 to 90% of the time. Whenever you get jumped, let's say Iron Fist comes after you, that's when you switch and you go into Cloak because you have your Dark Teleportation here, which I would recommend when you go into this form to actually jump up as high as you can. What it'll also do is when you go into that invisibility, it'll hide your teammates too, so you can't be targeted. That's where this becomes really strong, so you can actually defend your teammates very well and also be able to get away. So kind of a dual purpose here. Now we also got a ability here called the Terror Cave, which will blind targets. So whenever you go like that, you'll see them encloaked with purple. That means that they can't see as well. And in addition, they take extra damage and it also damages them. So we actually have some really good getaway abilities. So that's why whenever you play as Cloak and Dagger, I notice that people tend to target us a little bit less because you can just pop this, go invisible if you need to. My usual strategy is to do the Terraforce Cape and then disappear away. But our healing really is our biggest benefit. So a few general tips and tricks. If you see someone far away that's getting hurt, throw some daggers at a wall to try and bounce it off and hit them. That may be a game winner for you, especially if you have Venoms on your team that are very hard to be able to heal. So that's one thing. Another, be careful where you put your bubble. Some people I've seen playing Cloak and Dagger throw the bubble forwards. I would recommend putting it behind your payload or somewhere that's going to be easy for your tanks to retreat and get heals from. So typically your payload is going to be a nice place for tanks to run back, block damage, and then also be able to get heals in. And just be mindful, you want to be using your heals pretty much as often as you can. So you have that light barrier there that can do a little bit of healing. You have your daggers, which you pretty much always want to be aiming down or holding down your fire here, because there's probably someone that's going to benefit from healing or someone that's going to benefit from, you know, getting damaged. You can go and chip away damage at targets. One thing that I find that's really good with Dagger is if someone's like fighting a Jeff or a Rocket, someone that's really small and hard to hit, you can be someone that actually picks them off because these will auto aim and make sure that you do hit your targets. So while they don't do a lot of damage, they are very effective for just low health enemies. So highly recommend going with that if you need to, but I'll show you some gameplay here. I went 37 knockouts and 34 assists in this game. It is absolutely crazy, and I have many games like that. So some tips and tricks to follow along to make sure you're the best at Cloak and Dagger. Healing is always your #1 priority. When you can get easy knockouts like this, though, I would recommend grabbing them because taking out a couple big damage dealers can reduce the burden you have to heal, so that can also be nice. But be mindful that you can draw aggro from their tanks, so I was able to get away there. That's the big usefulness for Cloak. But you can see here, sometimes some classes like Snipers, Black Widow, and Hawkeye can get a little bit of tunnel vision, so you can get up and sneak up on them. Now our little ultimate here is pretty useful because it'll heal you if you're standing in it, and it'll also damage enemies. I needed a quick getaway there, so I was running away because Captain America kept chasing me down. But anytime that you do get chased, I would recommend backpedaling and using Cloak to get away. And if you can't, I would still recommend just running to your teammates because it's better for them to take the aggro and you heal them versus you try to 1v1 them. So a 1v2 will always be something you can have a better chance of winning. But here I was able to hit him with my the cloak attack there, which does apply a bit more damage over time. And you can see I got the knockout just from that alone. Now, we also are really good at sniping away Jeff. Whenever he swallows your teammates, you got that auto aim, so you can hit them from a bit of ways away. So this is a good way to get your teammates back and then heal them back up. And you can see here, healing is, again, #1 priority, so you always want to be healing as much as you possibly can, especially when there's 2 tanks on your tanks. But again, Jeff's another really easy target for us, so it's best to just take him out. If you can remove a healer, that's one less thing that you have to worry about, and their tanks will fall a lot quicker that way, and then you can take out the tanks just like that. Watch out for ultimates, though. Ones like Hela are really difficult to deal with, so dropping your healing bubble can be really nice and gives your teammates something to run back to, especially if you're holding a point. Like, we're holding a point here, so I just kept dropping my healing bubble there, and I find that that works really well because it'll keep your teammates at that position and keep them from running away for the most part. But you can see there, I almost went down to Hulk, so I used my cloak to be able to fly away. I always recommend jumping up high whenever you're using cloak, just so you can escape from the targets. That's just the best way to go about doing it, because sometimes if I see a cloak run away, I'll still shoot around the area trying to hit them. But yeah, we were able to pull over this position here. This one ended up going to overtime. They had 99%, but we did pull it back a bit and got close to a finish. But we did go to 3 rounds. That's why I was able to get the 35 knockouts and 37 elimination, or 37 assists here. But this is the 3rd stage of it. So some maps are a little bit more generous and long range. That's where we really excel, because we can hit from a very long range and also heal from a long range too. So we don't have to get into the fray of things. We can stay back and just heal. But if you see any, again, easy knockouts, just turn to cloak and take them. And then I like to drop my ultimate, especially on the place that, you know, we're contesting, so whether it be the payload or the area that we're trying to capture. That way it's going to heal us and our teammates, but also deal damage to the enemies, so that can be a really nice way to crowd control and grab a spot. But I was able to get a couple really easy knockouts there, so always take those, especially if you see a healer that runs up on you. You can 1v1 and win most healers. Luna, Snow, and Mantis do have their quick escape buttons, but our escape button is this one right here, just teleporting into the air, and it can be really useful for getting away. It's not going to be as damaging, but yeah, we can still get away pretty easily with that. So you can see there, we also have the Dark Veil Cloak there, which we can hide the target from seeing us, which is another nice getaway. So the nice thing about Cloak and Dagger is you do actually have 2 technically getaway abilities, so that's super useful, but they also deal damage. So if you get against a target that has 250 health, you may win if you switch to cloak quick enough, or if your dagger, drop the healing bubble on the ground and then switch to cloak, and you can kind of play within that. If you need a stealth, you can move around, but also it's easy to take them out if you got your sustained healing. And that auto aim is super nice. But you can see we're picking up a bunch of assists just from healing from a range. We don't really have to do a whole lot as Cloak and Dagger. You can just stick back and make sure that you're whatever priority you are for healing. So obviously tanks come first when it comes to healing, but just look around, see how your teammates are doing, and heal them. I wouldn't recommend going for attacks as much, but you can still do attacks here and there. But you can see here, we were able to overcome them with a bunch of heals, and then their Captain America, like, versus our damage class, and then tank going in to rake the horde there. We were able to take them down pretty easily. So yeah, the nice thing is Cloak has that crazy high damage that you don't have to really worry. If you switch into him, you're likely going to take out someone. And unfortunately, this was just the worst luck here. I took her health down to the very minimum, but Hela's got that 2nd health bar, and it took me out, unfortunately. But that was one of my few eliminations of the game, so that wasn't too bad. But you can see here, Mantis, again, kept running into the middle of things here. Mantis is good offensively, but we were able to take them down pretty easily, so recommend doing that. We blinded the Hulk, flew up and away. I tried to land up there. That's the nice thing, is you can sometimes get to some spots that others can't get, like a Captain America may be rushing you, but if you can jump up to a spot they can't even reach, then you're safe. But we were holding this position really well and went to overtime, and we were doing a great job. Cloak and Dagger is my favorite character to play, just because the versatility. You got both offense and defense, and you can get KOs really easily there, as you can see. But also, if your teammates need heals, you're more than capable of keeping everyone healed up. So that is how to play Cloak and Dagger in Marvel Rivals. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.